Ogden, Utah. A young woman is found stabbed to death.
They said it was the most gruesome crime scene they'd ever seen.
Detectives discovered that she was stabbed 46 times, violently. 46 times is a lot.
The victim is a popular and fun-loving 21-year-old.
Everyone loved being around Tawnee.
When you met that person, that's who you wanted to be. She was perfect and she was nice, no matter who you were.
As the investigation unfolds, a tragic story of control and jealousy is uncovered.
She knew right from wrong. Somehow she chose wrong.
Been doing this for 25 years, and I haven't seen that much rage inside of a car between two people.
This is the story of Tawnee Baird. How a teenage mistake changes her life, and how her killer manipulates the situation to its gruesome end.
Out of all the men or boys and girls or whoever she could have picked, she picked a monster.
June 17th, 1993, Tawnee Marie Baird is born to adoring parents, Dana Anderson and Casey Baird.
I remember just coming out of Mama's belly, and I called her Ladybug. She was a lady and a bug, and she was my ladybug.
She was a very happy baby. Like, honestly, always had a smile on her face when all this huge blonde hair and big blue eyes come into the world.
She becomes the light of your life. So very happy, a real calm baby, easy, good-natured.
Just full of life and full of sparkle, and she's an angel. I remember teaching her to ride her first bike. And I'm pretending I'm holding on the seat, and I'm running behind her, and I didn't have my hand on the seat. She was riding.
The family lives in the quiet and safe city of Holiday, Utah.
Holiday is a very quaint, smaller subdivision within the Salt Lake Valley, and it's pretty quiet. There's not a lot of crime. The community there is a little older. They've been living in their homes for decades.
Holiday was originally designed in Utah to be the rural area, no sidewalks. The homes are huge lots, a lot of horse property. A lot of people wanted to live in Holiday just for if they had that, the prefix on your phone. That was kind of prestigious. I didn't move there for that reason.
I've grown up there for actually the last 35 years. And it's very friendly. Like, we all know each other. I mean, we truly know each other, even, blocks around. And we all watch each other. They have like neighborhood watch and stuff like that.
Tawnee wore her heart on her sleeve and would often leave love letters for family and friends.
I found notes all over my house that she would maybe come and visit on a Sunday afternoon, and she'd put notes in my drawers or in a phone book or something. I would find little stickies of, "Grandma, I love you." It's kind of crazy when I still find another note tucked away someplace, or Facebook pops up little notes from Tawnee, and I go, where did that come from? "Grams, you're just so lovely." And she's put a big sunshine on it. She had high aspirations of being famous and going places, and that just made me feel good, because once she started going to school and stuff, I could see that it could really happen.
She'd buy all these wild and crazy outfits, like totally off of what her friends wore or anything, but she always had an entourage behind her of friends. So It was funny, her own little style, but the hair always had to be done perfect.
Tawnee was the type of person that you wished to be. Like when you met that person, that's who you wanted to be. She was perfect and she was nice, no matter who you were.
She never did take like acting lessons or anything, but she sang, she wrote a little music.
She wanted to go places in life. She wanted to, travel and go to California. And she wanted to live freely.
She loved animals. I called her the animal lady because anything she could pick up. She had, I don't know how many cats.
But at 17 years of age, Tawnee's life takes a drastic turn. She starts experimenting with drugs and smoking marijuana. While smoking in a car, Tawnee is arrested for possession of narcotics.
I wasn't happy with it, and I went to the court and tried to be stern and didn't want her doing that, but it was a paraphernalia ticket for a pipe, I guess. And I think the judge threw the book at her too hard.
There was another family member involved who kind of was insistent that Tawnee go to DT before things got worse on her end with drugs.
Following her arrest for possession of drug paraphernalia in June 2010, Tawnee is ordered by a judge to be moved from home detention, known as DT, to a juvenile behavioral health treatment facility for 90 days. It is here, at age 17, that Tawnee meets Victoria Mendoza.
When I went to visit her there, that's when she said, "Hey Mom, I've met someone here, and you're gonna think it's really weird, but I met this person here, and it's someone that's been really good to me in here, but it's really weird, and I think it's strange because it's a girl." Victoria looked like a guy at the time, but it's a girl's facility. I said, "What are you talking about? Like, a little friend in here?" And she's being really nice to me, but she was hinting that she liked her. And I'm said, "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" And she said, "I think I kind of like her."
In 2009, while serving time in the Salt Lake City Youth Treatment Center for marijuana possession, 17-year-old Tawnee Baird meets Victoria Ashley Mendoza, who has a troubled history.
I know that she ran away from home. I know that her dad molested her when she was very young. I know that he was put in prison. I know that he hung himself. She was the youngest of 6 kids, raised by a mother who was extremely religious. Victoria can quote from the Bible. She knows her Bible. And she spent every Sunday at home with a pink dress on, studying the Bible.
But it wasn't long before Victoria Mendoza started rebelling against the strict religious life at home.
She had some violent offenses, some assault offenses, some theft offenses in the past when she was younger, mostly as a juvenile. But you definitely saw more of a violent criminal history versus Tawnee, who just had the one paraphernalia charge.
After serving 90 days, Tawnee is released and is soon followed by Victoria. Tawnee introduces Victoria to her family, and their relationship seems to blossom.
At that time, Tawnee had her own bedroom downstairs, and Victoria would come see her. They had been spending time together, and she seemed really nice, and she'd been meeting my other children.
But shortly into their relationship, Victoria receives bad news that changes the dynamic.
Victoria's mother all of a sudden got breast cancer, and the cancer was aggressive.
Tawny called me and said, "Dad, Victoria's mom's about ready to die." And I said, I'll be right there. I'm actually coming down the canyon. So there was a bunch of people. It was in her own apartment there in Ogden. And I walked in and I said, she was almost gone. And I just said, it's very nice meeting you, and thank you for what you've done for my daughter as she stayed up here with you, and don't worry, I'll take care of Victoria, and comfort her, and I walked out and she died.
Following her mother's death, Victoria is embraced and welcomed into Tawny's family like one of their own. Despite their reservations, Tawny's family and friends accept Victoria.
I treated her just like family. Tawny wanted me to treat her normal, and we did. That's the way my family is. They're like, hello, how are you? Welcome. Have a bite to eat. And you don't have to dredge up anything from the past, and let's go forward and see what happens.
I think Dana had as much faith in Victoria as Tawny did, in the fact that this is a young girl. She just needs guidance. We want to help her change. I don't think that Dana was particularly pleased with the relationship between Tawny and Victoria, but I think that she was trying to support the relationship because she knew how much it meant to Tawny.
However, the relationship becomes codependent and is not as happy as their social media posts portray.
She was jealous of just Tawny could make friends and had tons of friends and would meet new ones every day. She got jealous of some of the friends of Tawny's that she'd had for years, and even guy friends that she'd hang out with all the time. And I thought they were dating, and no, they were just friends.
Victoria had a very hard time being with somebody with Tawny who was completely the opposite. And I think she wanted to bring Tawny down to her level of darkness, and that they would foster their relationship in that darkness instead of Tawny's light, because Victoria wasn't comfortable in the light. If you'll notice pictures, Victoria's always in the back. She's always in the background. Tawny's always in the front. Tawny's always smiling. Victoria's always stale-faced. She's dark. There's just an aura about her that eludes darkness. But I totally recognize that she was young, and that however she got that darkness may not have been her fault. Sometimes environment and a dark personality make the worst combinations.
Victoria has an obsession with knives and carries one around with her.
I didn't know she carried the knife all the time. I know who gave her the knife, and he was incredibly horrified about it, that he gave her a knife for Christmas or something. Yeah, that's not a good sign when people are carrying knives.
Tawny's friends become concerned as unhealthy traits start appearing in the relationship.
Victoria rubbed me wrong. I had the dad gut feeling that something wasn't right about her, that little girl.
It was a little volatile at times. They would get into some physical altercations that didn't cause terrible injury, but that they would hit each other, pull each other's hair.
My daughter's tooth got knocked out. Everybody involved that knew about it said that it was Tawny that didn't want me to know. Nope, tell my dad, don't tell my dad. Not knowing it was Victoria.
Now all these red flags start to pop up, and they kind of put it together that, yeah, it wasn't the most healthy relationship.
A few months into the relationship, Victoria tells Tawny that she has slept with someone else. The relationship briefly breaks down, but Victoria takes to social media in an effort to win Tawny back.
Just look at all the feelings and everything we've been through when we first met each other in our program, and then when we got out. Besides the I did, and all the little notes that you've written me, and all this that you got me, and all that means a lot to me, and I don't want to lose you at all. Like, I really, really, really do love you, and I'm really sorry for everything I did, and I'm just wanting to have you back in my arms again and treat you better than I ever treated any other girl before, because I want to be with somebody, and I'm going to do everything in my power to get her back, instead of letting her walk free and letting her go to somebody else. That's not what I want. I want her with me, so I'm going to do whatever I have to do in my power, but until then, I'm not single. I'm waiting for somebody, actually. But, see, you made me this letter, and you made me this one. See, look. All of our pictures, because we love each other. When you didn't make that for nothing, just because you're bored, you made it for a reason. And I want you back a lot, and I miss you a lot. And I just want to ask you if you'll be my girlfriend again. And I love you so much. And you tell me you love me more than the stars times 93. Well, I love you more than the planets and the stars. Around the world, around Mars, around Pluto, back to Mars, back to the Earth, back to the Moon, of times 195. I love you.
Tawnee's parents want them to separate, but despite numerous breakups, the relationship continues.
I'm like, you need to get out of this relationship, Tawnee. You know, this is sorry. You know, you two fighting all the time, it's not going to get any better.
It isn't long before even Tawnee seems to sense the relationship is becoming too dangerous.
Tawnee called me on a Friday night, pretty late, and she said, Grams, if you don't get Vicky away from me, she's going to kill me. And I just said, look, Tawnee, just get away from her, leave her alone, get some space between you two, and both talk when you're calmed down about how you're going to separate. So the next morning, I didn't even sleep that night. The next morning I went to the house and I'm like, I want to talk to both of you right now. And we sat down and they were all cute and huggy. And I'm like, that wasn't funny. That wasn't funny. You guys have to figure out when you're calm like this and you keep repeating this history of fighting and everything, of how to survive without each other and how to go your separate ways, because this isn't working. And they were like, well, it's okay, Grams, it's all worked out now.
The relationship between Victoria and Tawnee continues for another 5 years. Until one night on October 18th, 2014, police receive a 911 call.
You see this stuff on TV or on the news, you don't ever think it's going to happen to you. And it's taken years for me to even realize what really happened. It's the worst thing that could ever happen, is to lose your child.
At 12:44 a.m. on October 18th, 2014, police in Ogden, Utah respond to a 911 call reporting a stabbing homicide.
911, what is the address and city of your emergency?
I have to report a murder.
Okay, do you know who was murdered?
Yeah, her name's Tawnee.
We had multiple calls. We had 3 friends of the suspect. They reported that anywhere from something bad has happened to that somebody may be dead in the parking lot.
All police knew at this point was that a fight had broken out between 2 girlfriends, Tawnee Baird and Victoria Mendoza.
Victoria was waiting for the police to come, and so she wanted to surrender. Other people calling in and not knowing what's going on at a scene of a murder is odd. Why are you calling the police and you're not there, or you're around the corner, or wherever it might be? And that's what we found in this. It's like, well, who's calling the police, and why are they telling us that there's somebody laying on the ground that wants to give up? That's strange. It was a church, and it has a rear side parking lot, and there was a vehicle there.
When police arrive, they discover Victoria Mendoza lying on the ground, covered in blood.
Initially, when officers arrived on scene, they saw her. She was bloody. She had some blood on her hands. They secured her, talked to her for a minute, put her in handcuffs, put her in the back of a police vehicle, and then continued their investigation.
Officers approach the car and discover Tawnee Baird lying in the passenger seat.
It was very bloody on the inside of the vehicle. Tawnee was in the front passenger seat, face into the backrest of the front passenger seat. It was described by one of the patrol officers as she was crumpled up, which was an interesting phrase to use, and that's exactly what she appeared to be, was crumpled up in the front seat. There was quite a bit of blood all over in the cushions of the vehicle, quite a bit of blood on the floorboards, and immediately officers observed that there was a partially open folded knife on the rear right floorboard, so in the back seat.
As officers are searching the car, they discover a small dog.
There was a little puppy that was in the back seat when officers arrived, a black Labrador. Hanson was the dog's name.
The police found him scared under the passenger seat, under where Tawnee was found, full of blood.
Animal control responded and took that dog. We collected the whole entire car, and the car was impounded and transported to a bay in our crime scene investigation unit at the Weber County Sheriff's Department, and it was locked there. So we collected everything from inside that car. We collected the knife that was in the back seat, and ultimately it was discovered that that was indeed the murder weapon.
When Tawnee's body is moved to the medical examiners for autopsy, the true extent of her injuries is revealed.
Homicides are prioritized for autopsy. So the next day, Detective Griffin and Detective Gardner went to the autopsy, and in this case, it took a long time because there were so many wounds. All of those wounds have to be documented. They have to be photographed. Patterns have to be discovered in an effort to determine what the cause and manner of death is. They discovered that she indeed, that her carotid artery was severed, that there were other stab wounds at the base of her skull, that she had the big slicing wound to her head, and that she died of blood loss. It wasn't until later, after the autopsy, that detectives discovered that she was stabbed 46 times, violently. 46 times is a lot. She had one that appeared to be a defensive wound that went through and through her hand. So at one time, she was, at one point in the murder, she was fighting. She was fighting.
Tawnee's best friend Lacey learns of the attack and contacts Dana, Tawnee's mother.
Someone contacted me and said that Victoria had stabbed Tawnee. And I was just like, what are you talking about? So I called Tawnee, and Tawnee didn't answer. And then I called her mom.
Lacey called me at about 5 a.m. and I'm like, why is Lacey calling me? And she goes, Dana. And she goes, is Tawnee's car there? I looked out in the driveway and I could see Tawnee's car had not come home. So I'm like, Lacey, what the heck is going on? And Lacey just hung up on me. So I'm like, oh my gosh. I started freaking out and calling all over the place.
Within about 2 hours, a policeman drove up and just confirmed that Tawnee was dead and that Vicky was in jail. And It's like the worst freaking day of my life, of our lives.
Dana called me and said, Casey, Vicky killed Tawnee last night. I said, what? Vicky killed Tawnee last night. And she stabbed her to death.
I drove to the Ogden Police Department. I said, I heard my friend had got stabbed to death, and they took me upstairs, and they told me my friend was stabbed to death. I was devastated, and so was my mom, because my mom knew my best friend very well.
Victoria Mendoza is taken to the station for questioning and talks investigators through the events of that night. She admits to the killing, but says she only stabbed Tawnee twice.
Detective Travis Griffin was the lead investigator, and within 45 minutes to an hour after we arrived, he sat down with her and interviewed her. He was shocked at how many times she was stabbed. He was shocked at how you could stab somebody, and did ask her, how could you do this? I was upset. I was angry, Victoria said. I went black. These are common for murderers to say in response. It's like an excuse. And they may even say, and I think she did in her interview, they may even say, this is an excuse, what I did was wrong, but you have to understand, I was really mad. And so it's minimizing their actions when they say that. And she's no different.
Investigators speak with members of Victoria Mendoza's inner circle and gain crucial insight into her state of mind at the time of the murder.
There was some family and friends that were interviewed on Victoria's side. They supplied some pretty good information. Some of these people were the ones that called 911, one of the 3 calls. And so they got a better understanding of how strange that whole scene was. She was so upset or enraged that she would call friends instead of calling 911 to get help or to turn herself in. Victoria FaceTimed the scene to a friend of hers. And so we have the timestamp of that, but we don't have the video. But that tells you something about the mindset of people in social media right now. Even back in 2014, it was newer. It was a new technology to be able to do that. But to take the time to do that after you've just killed your girlfriend, I can't wrap my head around that.
Victoria is charged with first-degree murder.
Crimes aren't perfect. They don't fit into this little box as far as charging and convicting people. And so you have to fit it in the best box you can. And in this case, it was difficult to find that premeditation. And so we charged with murder 1.
Tawnee's father, Casey, collects the puppy, Handsome, and remembers how Tawnee wanted the dog and was devoted to him.
My girlfriend at the time brought a puppy out of this trailer. It was the cutest puppy. It was like teeny, barely born. And I'm like, no, we don't need a dog. Well, she took a picture of him and she sent it to my daughter, Tawnee. My phone's ringing off the hook. Please, Dad, you need to get this dog. I said, okay, if I can name him Handsome. She goes, Handsome? That's stupid, Dad. No, I don't like that name, and hangs up. About 20 minutes later, phone rings, it's Tawnee. I love that name, Dad, you promised. I was to keep the dog, but she was going to babysit it. That was part of the deal. I had to be to work early, like 6 in the morning, but she really didn't like early mornings that I knew of. That little girl was at my door 7 a.m. every single morning picking up that dog to take him with her all day. She just loved him. That dog is my counselor. He's my best friend. And he comforts me. He's now about 6, 7 years old.
Completely grief-stricken, Tawnee's parents and siblings are struggling after her murder and are contacted by a medium.
My daughter's best friend, Lacey, got the number of this medium, this lady, and Lacey calls me after she got done. She said, "You got to hear this. You got to hear this. It's a lot about you." And I go, "What? Whoa. Medium? What?" I'm like, no, it's okay, Lacey. I'm okay. This medium, she says, "You talked to Tawnee's dad?" And Lacey says, "Yeah. You need to send him a message." I grabbed my daughter's mom, Dana, and we rode out and we met Cheryl.
I asked him what the ladybugs meant to him. I'm seeing ladybugs all over. What does that mean to you? And he hesitated at first to answer me. And so I just quickly went into something else that she was showing me. And then I told him she was below him. She was with a grandmother. I do remember that. And she wanted him to know that she was okay. That she's around him a lot, and that he could always see her in those ladybugs.
I called my daughter Ladybug from the moment she came out of Mama's belly, and I'm like, oh my God, she's here. And I could feel something. My legs felt really weird, and it was Tawnee. She was with us. She was with Mom and Dad. That's why I made sure that me and Mom and Dad went, It was crazy. She saved my life. Cheryl did. And the reason I say that, I went once after that, or once or twice after me and Tawnee's mom went to the medium. And one of those meetings with Cheryl, I walked in, I threw a $100 bill on the table, and I said, "Don't F with me. Is this real? What? I don't want to, I can't handle this." I said, "I had my AR-15 in my mouth yesterday. And my dog, Handsome, that was in the car the night of the murder, looked at me like, God, you're an idiot." Just like that. And I pulled the gun out of my mouth. I couldn't leave him. I couldn't do that to my family. We're already all hurting. But Cheryl, when I threw that $100 bill down, I said, "Don't F with me." She flipped out. Boy, I got the riot act from her.
I thought that in the beginning, and I was told after, that he was going to take himself out. And I told him, because she had said to me, "Dad, you won't get to me. You tell my dad he won't get to me. He can't do this. He needs to stay here. He needs to help others." She was very adamant that he be a force for her, because she can't be a force for herself.
As Tawnee Baird's family struggle to accept what has happened, all eyes fall to the court, to the judge, and the hope for justice.
I want her to sit out there for the rest of her life and think about what happened.
Investigators in Ogden, Utah are trying to piece together the events leading up to the murder of 21-year-old Tawnee Baird on October 18th. They have Tawnee's girlfriend, Victoria Mendoza, in custody, charged with first-degree murder, and now they need the evidence to take it to court.
How do you stab someone you love 46 times? That's Victoria. That's a crazy monster devil.
At some stage over the course of the night, Victoria becomes jealous and they start arguing.
That night of the murder, I think There was a guy Tawnee was friends with, and he was at that party, and that's what pissed Victoria off.
They started bickering about small stuff, but they seemed to get over it, and then we left, and they were bickering. They dropped me off at my house, and they were kind of bickering a little bit more, and they said, "Bye, we love you, Lacey, bye," and that was pretty much it.
And it was after that drop-off, they got back on the freeway, and from what I can gather in the confession, they started driving northbound on the I-15 toward Ogden, and that's when she mentions that they drive through Farmington at some point. The stabbing occurs sometime in that time frame between dropping the friend off and the police responding to the parking lot at the church.
The jealousy was, she wants to break up with me because she has somebody else in her life. And I don't know who that is, but that's where that jealousy rage comes in, that you're leaving me for somebody, even if there wasn't somebody else.
I think Victoria had held it in. They'd been with some friends, and I think Vicky was really sensing that Tawnee meant it about breaking things off totally, permanently.
From the evidence, it's clear that Victoria quickly overpowered Tawnee.
While my daughter was doing 70 miles an hour down the freeway, she started stabbing her. There was 22 stab wounds in my daughter's right arm, trying to fight her off.
Been doing this for 25 years, and I haven't seen that much rage inside of a car between two people ever in my career. 46 is almost 50. 50 is a lot of stabbing, motion, energy. 50 times. That's a long time, especially if you're fighting for your life.
Somehow the car got pulled over, and Victoria rolled Tawnee over into the passenger seat, and then she drove her to the church in Ogden, where this church, it was like Victoria's a family church. And I actually heard when Victoria would get in trouble, she would go to this church and sit on the steps.
Deemed mentally competent to stand trial and with the evidence stacked against her, Victoria Mendoza pleads guilty.
They bring Victoria in, her attorney walks in, and they're telling the judge about it, and all of a sudden she goes, Victoria screams, "I'm guilty, I'm guilty, I did it." And we're all like, what? And the judge is like, whoa, 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 stop. Are you on any drugs, or, goes through the regular motions, I guess, of what a judge would ask when the defendant freaks out. I did it, I want this over with. I want this over with for Tawnee's mom and dad. I just want it over. And, the judge is asking her again, did someone threaten you, or, no, I'm guilty, I did it. So they set another court date, and the last one was a sentencing.
Tawnee's family plead with the judge to put the 23-year-old holiday woman in prison for the rest of her life.
I want her to be in prison and have the effects of prison. And I want her to be sitting in there knowing what she did and be feeling the guilt and the shame and the horror of what she did to my daughter.
I read a 7-page letter that I'd wrote. I said, how could you do this? It was so unnecessary. Not only me, but Dana, my daughter's mom, was taking good care of you. And this is what we get? And there better not be a parole date. It better be life without parole. But I talked about, how much I love my daughter and how much this sentencing means to me, that I don't have to worry about this anymore. I don't want to have to worry about her getting out. Well, that didn't work out that way. She got 16 to life. She has a parole date in 2039. Now, I've been promised by a lot of prominent people, attorneys, and people involved in the case, that she's not going to get out.
That doesn't mean she'll be released in 16 years. It just means that at that time, the Utah Board of Pardons can determine how much more time she needs to do before they want to give her a chance to be in society.
When she is sentenced, Victoria Mendoza seems to accept the horror of her actions, but does not appear repentant.
She said that she's the monster, and she didn't seem like she felt remorseful, no.
There was no remorse. She's crazy. She's a devil. She better not get out.
The tragedy has left a lasting impact on all those involved.
It's destroyed my family. My kids are distraught. They've lost their big sister. I've lost my daughter. It's my firstborn daughter. It's horrible.
I have 3 daughters, and they're all adults now, but she's just a young girl. And when I saw the pictures, because I wasn't there on scene, I saw things after the fact. That's the first thought you have is for your children or your sibling. I think the dog affected people because there's a dog on scene at a homicide. It's not very common inside of a car. Little bloody paws. That's something that you'll never get out of your head. I think, me personally, and looking at the photographic evidence, the look on her face, on Tawnee's face, I'll never get rid of that. I'll always have that in my mind. Fear.
She's in prison. Her life is over. I think that's the best you can do. I don't know what else you do unless you, did the death penalty and eye for an eye, life for a life. A lot of people think like that. I guess I can't.
Victoria Mendoza is still serving her sentence at the Utah State Prison, Lone Peak Facility, for the first-degree murder of Tawnee Baird. Her original parole hearing is scheduled for October 2039. Jupiter, Florida, September 2011. Police are called to a house to respond to the shooting of a man.
You could see blood strewn across the floor. You could see a shattered shower door. So the bullets had gone through the shower door.
Initially thought of as a suicide, it quickly becomes clear that this is a suspicious death.
If you're going to shoot yourself, you're probably not going to do it 9 times.
The victim is a man called Lanny Horowitz.
It became apparent very quickly that Mr. Horowitz had not killed himself.
Police narrow down their suspects and begin to build a comprehensive case.
You have to look for all the little pieces of the puzzle. Do things add up?
I'm sure most people driving by these multi-million-dollar homes probably don't assume that it's armed like a fort, a military fort, but in this case it was. I mean, there were 26 guns in this house.
This is the story of Lanny Horowitz, his complicated life, and how he died in violent circumstances.
For someone else to do that to a person, the amount of bullets that were fired at Lanny says that there was some potential pent-up emotion that just burst out.
September 30th, 2011. It's a Friday in Admiral's Cove, an exclusive gated community in the northern suburbs of West Palm Beach. It's a place known for its wealth and exclusivity, certainly not violence of any kind.
Jupiter, I think, is a very desirable place to live and enjoys a good reputation, I think, overall.
Golf Magazine ranked Jupiter as the golf capital of the world because of the amount of high-class golfers who live in the community. You've got Tiger Woods and Brooks Koepka and all these folks. Jack Nicklaus lived here as well. So it's a place where the rich and famous come and they live and they feel safe here.
And within wealthy Jupiter is one of its most exclusive communities, Admiral's Cove.
Admiral's Cove is a very affluent neighborhood. It's a very high-end monetary neighborhood. You have a lot of wealthy people that live in there.
It's the wealthy playground, or at least the people that, like to show or put on the wealth. Expensive cars, expensive houses, beautiful properties. Most people have boats. It's just an affluent area.
One of these high-end residences on Mariner Drive is the home of Lanny and Donna Horowitz and their adult son Radley. What happens next is a mystery for the police. The calm of the early morning is disturbed by gunfire. Disoriented and defenseless with the house alarm blaring, Radley stays in his room, not knowing if the shooter will make him the next target. When the shooting stops, Radley runs to his father's room. What he sees is horrifying. A security guard, Luis Garcia, is first on the scene. He alerts the police, who respond immediately.
The alarm had triggered not a burglar alarm or break-in, but it was actually a glass break sensor. And the glass break sensors, what they alert to are any high-pitched frequencies. It's not necessarily glass breaking. It could be, in this case, a gunshot through glass, any type of pinging. Sometimes you drop things on the floor in the kitchen, it could set the glass break off. So that's what he responded to, essentially.
The first person security guard Luis meets is Radley Horowitz,
who is able to direct him to the bathroom. Donna Horowitz was present as well, but he observed Lanny Horowitz on the bathroom floor, face down, with blood near his head, blood near his body, blood coming out, and a firearm in his hand. At that moment, he doesn't know what happened, just sees the immense amount of blood and that there is a person down on the floor and appears to be unresponsive even from getting closer, just is not moving.
He took the gun and in his word, he skittered it across the tiles, kind of gave it a shove out the door, and he started to roll Mr. Horowitz over. He said, I could tell right away he was dead, he was deceased, and he said, I kind of rolled him back a little bit to where I thought he was in his position, and then he backed out, and that's when he was calling us as well.
Luis Garcia tells police operators what he thinks has happened.
There was a conversation between Garcia and the 911 dispatcher, and in that conversation, it's postulated by Garcia that it was a suicide because of the placement of the gun when they were able to get on site and look at it. And he talks at length with the dispatcher with the assumption that it was a suicide.
Police arrive at Mariners Drive and start to get a sense of what has really happened. It's a bloody scene.
Blood spattered everywhere. There's a pool of blood around Mr. Horowitz. There's glass embedded all over his body.
It wasn't immediately apparent at just glancing at him, but upon a closer look, they can see that he's been shot more than once, and the number of shots exceeded that small handgun, and they see the second handgun on the dresser in the master bedroom.
If it's a suicide, then one can't shoot themselves through a glass window. So if he's committing a suicide and he's standing inside the shower, well, then there should be no shots traveling from inside to out. If he's standing outside, then the shower door shouldn't be open. So there's really no getting around the fact that, and there was no blood spatter, no pattern cast off on the towel at all. So that basically eliminated this idea of a suicide.
It soon becomes clear where the suicide theory has come from. Luis Garcia has tried to elicit some information from Donna Horowitz to find out what has happened.
Mrs. Horowitz is standing there, basically not really responding to him. She's in pajamas, and he said, words to the effect of what's happening, what's going on. And she said words to the effect to him of, he's been saying he was going to do this. Mr. Garcia took that to probably mean that Mr. Horowitz had killed himself. And keeping in mind that community, that's the kind of, even that would be unexpected, but it would certainly be much more expected than a homicide.
Police seal off the house and establish a crime scene.
The first line of business would have been first responders to clear the residence, make safe so that the emergency medical technicians could enter and assess the situation. Following that, the house would have been cleared, crime scene tape would have been erected, and then given the deceased individual and most likely a gunshot victim, detectives would have been sent in to begin their investigation to determine how this person was shot.
Eric Frank makes an assessment of the crime scene.
I need to know what do we have so far, because I need to know where the crime scene is, if I need to adjust the crime scene, expand it, contract it, whatever it may be, and get the basic information from the initial supervisor who's on scene, and then directly from the responding officers to find out what information they have that it can pass on to me.
It quickly becomes evident that whatever has happened did not involve any form of attack on the house by third parties.
Remember that the alarm went off for a glass break. It didn't go off for a door opened, a window opened, and there was no other glass break inside the house. Further, the house was, in very, there was no indication that anything had been broken, kicked in. It wasn't, there was no evidence of a struggle. So this idea that there was another person that had somehow gotten into the house unlawfully, it just was not supported by the evidence, by any evidence.
Everything was secure, and the alarm had not been tripped until the glass shattered from the first shot. So we knew that whatever had happened in the house with just Radley and Donna and Lanny. And my first thought was, this is somebody that's just was in a rage.
The officers advised that the decedent was in the master bedroom, and out in front of the residence they had his son, Radley. I briefly introduced myself to them, and then as a proper investigation needs to be done, now that I have the basic information, we then need to take a look at the scene independently of what's been told to kind of get an eye view of what occurred.
It was a very violent end. You could see blood strewn across the floor. You could see a shattered shower door. So the bullets had gone through the shower door.
We know that he was upright for a bit of time because we could see it ourselves because there was movement in the bathroom. There was an old-fashioned princess phone on the bathroom wall with this extraordinarily long cord, and that phone was off the hook. There was blood on the wall set, and the actual handset was underneath Mr. Horowitz, some feet away from that wall, which indicated that he had attempted, in all likelihood, to call for help after he had suffered the first shots in the shower, then collapses, and more shots occur once he's down.
I absolutely believe he was trying to call for help because he had the phone off. It had been pulled off in his hand and it was on the floor. The cord was kind of wrapped with him as well. So I do believe he tried to call for help.
The firearms at the scene are key to the evidence and the investigation.
They found quite a bit of evidence. 2 5-shot his and her Smith & Wesson revolvers in 2 different locations, which became very important to the analysis of the case. One of the revolvers was actually the one that Luis Garcia found in the hand of Lanny Horowitz that was ultimately moved to just outside the bathroom door by the time law enforcement photographed it. The other revolver was actually within its holster on the dresser. And initially, there was no way to tell how many shots were fired, how many guns were involved. What we came to realize is that both of those guns had been fired completely through. So all 5 cartridges and both weapons had been discharged, which indicates that whoever did this certainly wanted Mr. Horowitz to die, emptying 2 revolvers into him.
So then the real work begins with the crime scene, where they begin to collect the items that they've now photographed and individually bag them and keep a log and do their diagrams.
The investigators are also getting a sense of how the deceased met his end.
This person was inside in the shower when he was shot, and then tries to escape, tries to save himself, acting maybe irrationally, opens the shower door, is most likely shot several more times before he collapses on the ground. Whether or not he grabbed that phone intentionally or was just sort of scrambling, given the proximity of the phone to the shower, that would be speculation.
3 people in the house and one of them is dead. But who pulled the trigger? Lanny Horowitz is dead on the floor of his mansion. He has died from 9 gunshot wounds fired at close range. Police begin to focus on the 3 people in the house at Admiral's Cove and soon discover some very complicated relationships. Lanny and Donna first meet in the 1960s in their home city of Buffalo. It's clear that Lanny is making a success of his life, and marriage to the attractive Donna Carnevale is another addition to his glamorous lifestyle.
Donna Horowitz met Lanny Horowitz at a very young age. She was 14 years old, and she met Lanny. They originally were both from Buffalo, and that's where she met. They started their relationship very young and got married.
By all accounts, they were, very happy, younger in life. I mean, you see these photos of them together, they look like a perfect pair. Lanny wasn't an attorney, a practicing attorney, had his law degree, but he made most of his money in real estate. So he was kind of a jet-setting kind of guy, had a father who was a successful businessman who helped him get into the real estate business at a young age, and he learned a tremendous amount about that from his dad. And in a lot of ways, a great American success story. I mean, he was able to build a good business and make a good living for himself and his wife and son.
This happy family, and they appeared to be affluent. They did things that affluent people did. At one point, Lanny was certainly making very good money doing real estate deals.
Donna was not a country bumpkin by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, she came from her own family that had some privilege. I mean, they weren't the Rockefellers, but her father was a successful athlete who had a long career in baseball and actually played professional basketball for a year, so he was a very good athlete.
And so because of that, she also, in addition to Lanny's success, she herself had her own money and her own source of money that they would use.
The Horowitz family had a glamorous lifestyle.
They were able to do whatever they wanted. They could travel the world. They had boats and beautiful cars and were able to live a lifestyle that most of us can only dream about.
They had a child named Radley Horowitz. That was their one child. And they continued being married for a very long time. They got divorced. Then they got remarried and divorced again. And at the time that this was occurring, they had reconciled to a point that they were living in a home together.
They were together for a long time, over 30 years their first marriage lasted, which a lot of people would say is a big success. And then the marriage broke up. There were apparently some infidelities and some other issues between them. But it's one of those things, I guess, when you meet somebody in high school and you're kind of Buffalo kids at heart, and even though they both had access to a lot of money and they'd go anywhere they wanted and probably could meet a lot of different people, for whatever reason they kept getting drawn back to each other.
At the crime scene, investigators are narrowing down the possibilities surrounding the death of Lanny Horowitz. Investigators try to speak with Donna.
They ask her if everything is all right. And her response to that is placing her fingers in her ear and mouthing. And so at this point in time, police weren't asking her any question about what happened. They didn't even know that it was a murder. And she just starts placing her fingers in her ear and mouthing.
She was indicated that she couldn't hear. That becomes relevant because if a person is standing in a fully porcelained bathroom and 10 gunshots go off, that would explain, the hearing loss. That would explain putting her hands in her ears.
There's many reasons why people don't talk. Initially, it could be shock. It could be. Could be that they have something to hide. Sure. There's many reasons why people don't talk.
Lanny and Donna's 37-year-old son, Radley, is more forthcoming with information.
We went into my vehicle. Bradley absolutely agreed to speak to us on scene. He wanted to give us talk and have his side of what happened that he's telling us. So we go inside my vehicle and we start a recorded interview, myself, Detective Hozak, and Radley. And he basically gives us a little information about what occurred, what he saw.
Radley cooperates with them, explains what he heard and that he was sleeping and he woke up to gunshots and then dry firing, a gun firing without any ammunition in it.
He was very familiar with guns, and he said, I didn't fire a gun. And, understandably, in his mind, he has no idea what led to this.
Police have immediate reason to suspect Radley as a participant in the death of his father. His relationship with firearms has gone back some years.
Bradley used to be in the firearms business. He had some run-in with the federal side of law enforcement, so he was no longer allowed to possess firearms, ammunition, or anything like that.
He was charged by the federal government for gun sales, so that he was doing things, selling a gun without the proper procedure, and he was convicted of that.
You find a large amount of weaponry and a large amount of ammunition, and certainly, you want to take a look at who may be the owner or who may be the operator of those things.
We found a couple large bunker-type Connex bins that were filled with long guns, handguns. There was some ammunition there. In the closet downstairs in the hallway in the back of the closet, there were tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition in the ammunition cases and all that. Which initially, when you're finding all this, the normal person does not have that much ammunition.
I'm sure most people driving by these multi-million-dollar homes probably don't assume that it's armed like a fort, a military fort, but in this case it was. I mean, there were 26 guns in this house, and the family certainly had an interest in weaponry.
This is Florida. It is a gun state. So we're never surprised when we find firearms and ammunition in someone's home. In large volumes like that, not quite as normal, but we do find them often down here. He would be someone I would consider to be very knowledgeable about firearms as well. So sometimes people say, I heard gunshots, and it was just a hammer drill or someone dropped something. In this case, he's saying it's two gunshots, so we take that and know that it's more than likely it was two gunshots.
Radley also tells investigators what he has witnessed.
He goes out, he hears his mother screaming, he goes to their bedroom door area, from the living room to their bedroom door, and he can see into the bathroom, he can see his father on the floor, and he then goes and turns the alarm off.
It's now clear Radley is unlikely to be in the frame for the murder. The only other person in the house that night was Lanny's wife, Donna. In the house on Mariners Drive, police are assisting the medical examiner with the remains of Lanny Horowitz.
We assist the medical examiner in moving Lanny from that bloody room out onto sheets that were laid out and onto those sheets. And once there, that's when the medical examiner, with his examinations, that's when we really started seeing the physical injuries that had occurred to Lanny. The obvious multiple gunshot wounds that he had sustained in the struggle that occurred in that bathroom. So now it just fortified that this was in fact a homicide, that there are so many bullet wounds and injuries to him.
It's clear that Lanny Horowitz was shot in the shower while moving. There are multiple gunshots to him, but then it's clear that at some point he falls to the ground, and he is then shot additionally in the mouth, and it is a closer contact than the other shots, and that he can tell by the injuries to the mouth, and then also in correlation with the photographs from the crime scene of the defects on the tile, that is what occurred.
And what this told me is that the shooter had stood directly over him and shot straight down through Lanny. The bullets went through Lanny and hit that tile. So this, again, even more fortified that this in fact was a homicide, that this was an execution of Lanny Horowitz.
I mean, that's pretty next level anger.
It is clear also that the shooting impacts on others living in this wealthy community.
You can only imagine the neighbor's shock. You have to just think about it. I mean, you live in this opulent place, you think you're protected, and then it turns out that you're not. You're not totally safe. It must have been a shattering feeling and recognition for them that anything can happen to anyone at any time.
Detectives now quiz Radley again about the circumstances of the incident.
When we talk with anyone, we're not just going to say, okay, what happened here? We want a little background. We want to know what the background story is in any situation. And that's what we did in this case. When Radley, he told us about their marriage. They've been married and divorced twice before to each other. Everything appeared okay. He did not think that his father was depressed or suicidal. Dad was in the process of a business deal overseas that was supposed to be a great deal. So he said he was very surprised, basically, if there was anything that indicated suicide in this case.
Radley was very honest about how his parents had a very up and down relationship, that it would be constant, that Lanny would be mean or cruel to Donna Horowitz, and to the point of the fact that Donna really loved Lanny and really wanted him to be nicer, to have the better relationship. That's definitely something that Radley spoke to of or alluded to.
But Radley is able to tell police what happened.
He gets there and he sees his father on the floor in a pool of blood. He sees the shattered glass. He sees the scene, and he sees his mother not holding a weapon, according to him, but sees his mother, and she's just repeating a phrase, "He's so awful, he's so awful."
This is where Radley now is knowing that his mom shot his dad.
It appears the argument between Donna and Lanny is over the future of their relationship.
Radley told us that he remembers there'd be sort of yelling, loud screaming back and forth between his parents, and believe loud slamming of the doors or some of those things. So, Radley ultimately went to bed and then was woken up by the gunshots, but Radley's account is that it sort of came to a head that night, and that was evidenced by the luggage on the floor, that Lanny was packing his things. He had his to-go bag ready. So in this moment of, okay, we're going out and we're going to have dinner the night before, Radley sort of took it as, okay, maybe mom and dad are going to get back together. Donna certainly took it as, hey, we're going to get back together. But then now the rug gets pulled out from under everybody.
3 pieces of luggage. There was a suitcase and a Louis Vuitton duffel, as well as a Louis Vuitton garment bag. And so it was clear that someone was going on a trip. Those were packed and full of clothing.
It appears there have been lots of problems in the house and in the relationship. Police get their hands on Donna's personal journal. What it reveals tells them more about what has been going on in the relationship between herself and Lanny.
That was the window to her psyche when we examined it.
And once the detectives were able to look through it, you could kind of see that this had been a timeline, some sort of guide as to how her recent relationship with Lanny had progressed, so that it spoke to, the journal first spoke to about the rekindling, that Lanny has asked for us to try again, to give it another shot, and so she seems very excited.
But Lanny's actions, it appears, also have a financial imperative.
He needs to borrow this amount of money in order to keep the home, because the home was under multiple mortgages at the time, and so he asked for $200,000 in order to keep their family home, and he called it their family home, implying that they could still be together and live together.
Well, Lanny was in trouble at that point. That was sort of a low point for him. He was not, certainly not a millionaire at that point. He was not making the type of money that he was used to. Lanny was sort of, a wheeler dealer, always looking for the next big thing. And there was some property. He felt like he may have had this next big thing.
Donna, it appears, has the cash he needs.
In order to maintain that lifestyle, in order to float the family, he did solicit from Donna a large amount of cash. Now, Donna had, some family money, and she had actually gotten the money from her family in order to give to Lanny. And in Donna's mind, this was the two of them getting back together, because I do believe that, Donna truly loved Lanny, and that was exhibited in a lot of the family photos and what we hear from Radley about, their life early on. I think Donna really adored Lanny.
Donna was prepared to do anything to keep Lanny.
She wanted the relationship with Lanny more than anything, and you could read that in her diary. And the time she was happy, it was Lambo, and there were very happy thoughts. And then she would sort of change when things went bad. Because she would date the book, and she would say, Mr. Meany with Fran all day today.
Police now discover another name in the story.
You see references to a Francine Tice, who she called Fran, and so there are multiple commentary throughout. There's one where she details her birthday celebration and then Francine's birthday celebration. Both were on the day planner and both what they did. And so for Donna's birthday, there were hot dogs at the house. And for Francine's birthday, he had taken her to Capitol Grill or another, expensive steakhouse to celebrate her birthday. So even without speaking as to the hatred of Francine, you could see it in how she detailed different activities that they would do.
You could see that she was a tortured soul. This man who she really loved and wanted to be with, but when she called him Mr. Meany, we thought that was very impactful, because it's easier to call somebody an a-hole. It's easier to just to call somebody a cheap name, but to call him Mr. Meany, that's a deep cut. That's a wounded individual. That's a tortured individual.
But Francine appears to be the main focus of Donna's attacks because of her relationship with Lanny.
They've been going out to dinners. They've been seeing a lot of each other. And Donna was expressing anger or jealousy, the fact that he was spending more time with Francine than he was with Donna.
Francine Tice is the one who's going on these trips, the one who is getting these fancy dinners, who the one is getting all of the quality time with Lanny. And I think that it is clear that she was envious of that in her little notations about not what she did that day, but what Lanny did with Francine that day. The different activity that Lanny and Francine did that day was always notated, and that speaks to the envy that she had of their relationship.
And she was very, very hurt by his constant, the marriage divorce, and that bore out in a lot of the things that we read in the diary about some of the things that she said, some of the things that she called him. It was very, very illustrative of, this pain she felt and the love that she had for this man.
It now looks like the matter was coming to a crescendo. The couple were taking off together.
Lanny Horowitz was going on a trip that weekend and was packed to go with Francine Tice.
The relationship could have been completely platonic, but in Donna's mind it wasn't.
She did not want him to go on this trip, did not want him to be socializing with Francine, and there was an argument over the fact that he was going on the trip.
He also told Donna that she had to leave the house. She was getting kicked out by the time he came back from the trip. Now think about it from Donna's perspective. This is someone who has been his life partner for decades, since the Johnson administration, and now is being told that she's out on the street. And the bigger indignity of it all is the fact that she's the reason why he's still in the house.
The next question appears to have been a simple one for Radley to answer.
We would have asked him straightforward, do you believe that your mother killed your father? He believed she did, yes.
On October 6th, Donna is charged with first-degree murder with a firearm. Police are now convinced she had the opportunity and she had the motive: jealousy.
We just needed that one good thing, that one supporting information that supported all the physical evidence, the forensic evidence, and the diary, everything that we had found on scene. And having that final conversation with Radley was pretty much what that final piece of the puzzle that we wanted. It filled in those little things that we needed to see. At that point in time, as Radley was already leaving the police department, we already had Donna under surveillance. We had the residences under surveillance of where she was located, and the call was made, put her in custody at this point.
In custody, charged with the murder of her husband, Donna Horowitz has plenty of time to consider her future.
You can see from the mugshot that was taken of Donna the night she was arrested. I mean, you can only imagine what's going through her head. You can just look at her physically. She had been through the ringer that week. Maybe she was wrapped with internal guilt. Maybe she was wrapped with fear. You don't know. Can't get in her mind. But just look at the picture. Just look at her face. Look at her hair. Look at the way she looks. That's somebody who's going through absolute hell on earth.
At the trial, which begins in January 2013, Radley is called to testify against his mother.
It's something that had to be done. He's an essential witness to the case, what he hears, the fact that he is in the home. For the prosecution to occur, we have to establish who was in the home, what happened, and so Radley is essential. For Radley, I think it was a very emotionally tolling experience to have to testify in a case where his mother is being charged with first-degree murder.
Oftentimes in criminal proceedings, especially a high-profile criminal case, defense attorneys, defense counsel will have some gamesmanship. That's what lawyers do on both sides. And there's no doubt, Donna's a person of means, a very attractive person. You just look at her physical appearance during the trial, and there had to have been a decision made by defense counsel. At least you would assume there was a decision made by defense counsel to try to play up the fact that she was older than she looked, that there was no way she could have committed a violent crime. This was a grandmother. Look at her. She's got gray hair. She's old. She's not particularly big. Is this a person who could murder her husband in cold blood, shoot him 9 times and shoot him in the mouth after he was dead? Probably not. At least that was what they were trying to sell the jury.
But the trial takes a peculiar twist for Radley Horowitz.
It's your mother who's being accused of murdering someone. I mean, yes, it's your father, but it's also your mother being accused of a violent crime. Anyone who's a human being would have some empathy for that, which is why it was even more shocking when defense counsel changed their strategy or at least unleashed their strategy to Radley. He was unknowing, and they started to blame him for the murder. They started to plant seeds that perhaps it was him. Maybe he hired a hitman. Maybe he did it. He had all these reasons why he could have done it, alluding to the amount of money that he would theoretically inherit in the case of his father's death. And his mother, that was her attorneys, she was paying him, signed off on that strategy, and certainly didn't stop it.
To be essentially accused by what he felt was the defendant. I mean, it was the defense team and it was their strategy, but I mean, it hurt Radley very deeply that his mother would permit such a defense.
Everything that we found shows that there was no one who came from outside, no assassin, because that was brought up at one point, that there was a hitman that was hired, and that by Bradley to take out his dad for insurance money. None of that ever rang true. None of that was ever able to show up to any fruition that this is what happened.
Radley had no motivation at all to do this. The defense would try to argue that Radley was in it for the money. Radley was going to be the sole heir to everything, from Donna's family, from her father to Donna. Everything was going to Radley, particularly if the two got divorced. I mean, he's the sole heir. And, at that time, the defense argued that Radley was sort of down and out, and that's why he was living at home. But being down and out in Admiral's Cove is not a bad place to be down and out. So Radley was living like a king.
Radley took a lie detector test, and apparently the police were satisfied with the results they got from that. There was no physical evidence tying him to the guns, for example. There was no powder residue on him. He didn't have any blood on him. They were able to find the earplugs, orange earplugs, by the side of his bed, showing that he had them in that night and keeping with his story. So the police had less reason to suspect Radley because he was cooperating. He was, to them, seeming to tell the truth according to a lie detector test, and was much more forthcoming than his mother was.
If the defense wanted to characterize him as the murderer, well, there was a cache of weapons at his disposal that he could have used. The person that kills Lanny, in this case Donna Horowitz, uses 2 5-shot revolvers. It's a small caliber weapon. It was a little bit significant because they were his and hers airweight revolvers, so there are some significance behind that. And then the location of the body. I mean, he's shot in the shower. It's the unlikely place for, if Radley was looking to shoot his father, walking in while he's taking a shower with Donna Horowitz laying in the bed right there watching him is really not the ideal situation. So the placement of the body, the location of the crime scene, the fact that 2 5-shot revolvers were used, it screamed Donna, not Radley.
That diary was enough information to make the motive fit for Donna. Everything else had been conjecture for the most part. It had been her son saying that they were unhappy. But when you could read it in black and white, you could read her notes, you could see the fixation she had with this other woman. The fact that she was calling her husband Mr. Meanie, this childlike language. That is the type of evidence that is difficult to discredit as a defense counsel.
We firmly believe every case that we prosecute and believe the evidence supports the argument that we just provided to the jury and why the person should be found guilty. We want justice for Radley to be vindicated. We want justice for the community to know that this person was held accountable. So you're always on pins and needles in that moment. There's just a lot going on, a lot of emotion.
On June the 12th, 2017, Donna Horowitz was sentenced to 32 years in Lowell Correctional Facility for the murder of her husband, Lanny Horowitz. It's highly likely she'll spend the rest of her life behind bars.
I think that Donna was in a fury. She was angry, and she had been in a relationship with Lanny for the majority of her life, and he had been cruel to her over and over again about the fact that she was constantly wanting this love and support that he was not giving her. They've been married, divorced, remarried, divorced, and then he uses her to get the money to help assist the mortgages, and he doesn't stop his relationship with Francine Tice, and he continues to it. So he is outright ignoring her feelings, and she is envious of what Francine Tice has with him. These fancy dinners, these trips, and all of these positive things that a person would look to in a normal, healthy relationship, all the positives that she is not getting, and she is just getting the mean side of Lanny, the Mr. Meanie who's not considerate of her feelings.
Why not just walk away? But maybe at that point she had just had enough and walking away wasn't an option.
So does the trial provide a resolution for the Horwitz family?
There's no way that justice could be had. Some could argue what the injustice is, but from the narrow definition of a murder, how do you ever get justice back from that? It's impossible. You look at the aggrieved parties. You look at Radley. How can he ever receive justice? His father's dead. His mother threw him under the bus and allowed her defense attorneys to claim he was a murderer. How do you ever go back from that? There's no way. There's no justice that can be had there. His whole existence has been shattered. For his family, it's shattered. You have a whole family that no longer have grandparents. He doesn't have parents. Friends who are without their companionship. There can be no real justice, I don't think.